Hey folks, welcome back to Soaring Profits. And well, you know us. We don't need to introduce ourselves again. Tonight we've got a topic that's coming up here, and we have an upcoming provincial election in the province of Ontario. Most of the folks that I think that are watching this are probably in Ontario, and you that are all around the world, thank you. Thank you. Like, subscribe, and share for all you foreigners.
And hit that bell.
Yeah. So folks, right now, obviously we have kind of a tumultuous time after the pandemic, trying to put pieces back together, what that looks like. Some of you that follow some of my financial stuff, inflation's at all-time high, food costs are soaring, the price of everything seems to be running away. And James, I can't kind of help but feel like the members and the leaders that are trying to get elected here, they're not really talking about real topics. Am I missing something? Like, I feel like I'm just not hearing the dinner table stuff that you and I kind of talk about.
Well, I think they're doing what they've always done in the past, and what even if there are people in the States watching, that's what the political parties in the States do. They hit those buzz topics, those topics that are going to get a lot of people interested, a lot of people seeing views. The news does it, everything does it. You and I were talking about it the other day that since Trump isn't around anymore, the news has to actually come up with news,
right?
Because they can't just Trump 24 hours 7, but Trump's name, brings people to the table, just like all these other buzz things. Like the Liberals are running on a dollar
public transit,
which is, what's that solving? Right. How's that solving anything? Like the last time Ford ran, he was running on a dollar beer. Again, what's that solving? Except he gets Pat drunk.
He really when you go and you pay $60, yeah, no, crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm not even a beer guy, Scotch guy.
No, definitely a Scotch guy. Just like I'm a vodka guy. If you guys want to, ever,
we will do live samples in the metaverse.
In the metaverse, we will.
What is this? All over the. Yep. Too soon.
Yeah, no, but so like they're not talking about and then they dust off the old stuff, like not old stuff in it's a bad thing. Like it's stuff that we have to, topics we really should be looking into.
Is this covering your butt? Like you're looking over here, like explaining, like, oh no, not.
Well, I just want people to know that I'm not saying that it's trivial information. It's not trivial. But I find that during the election, the Liberals and the Conservatives and the NDP all dust these things off and go, "Oh, we're really concerned about women's issues. We're really concerned about gay rights. We're really concerned about native rights, especially in Canada. That's a thing, right?" And they dust these off, and for the next couple of weeks, we'll hear nothing about it but that in the news, and that'll be all their talking points.
Yeah,
but really, like, how many people are literally killing themselves by jamming needles in their arm every day? How many people are suffering from mental health every day? How many people don't have a job, can't find any work? We had a thing called CERB, and a big thing that's happening right now is that the government's asking for this CERB money back because they're saying that it wasn't given, to the right people. Well, we knew that day one. You and I were talking about that. Like, they're giving it to everybody.
Yeah.
And now they're asking for it back. Well,
now can you explain CERB a little bit more? So
CERB was during the pandemic. What happened was a lot of people couldn't work, just like in the States. You were told you had to stay home, and so you couldn't go to work. And so they came up with this CERB money, which it was basically unemployment, except in the fact of unemployment, that's something you pay into in Canada. I don't know if it is in the States.
Negative.
Unemployment you pay into, and then when it comes time that you become unemployed, they give you your money back at a percentage. But CERB kind of took over that, and people started getting it. I know a friend of mine actually got laid off just as the pandemic kind of happened and was forced to go on CERB. Well, CERB is not a taxable money, so when it came time to do income tax, he had to pay a large portion back because we pay a lot of taxes.
Right.
But other people who actively went on CERB, who needed it, who didn't have very much money, now they are also giving about 50% of it back.
Right.
And none of them are prepared for it. And it's causing even a stronger problem in our environment because these people can't pay rent. They can't pay for their houses. They can't do anything.
Yep.
and there are, they're struggling to find that job that they can work at. So these are some of the issues that I think are important, but we're not talking about them. We
Right.
don't think they're not like, it's not especially with conservatives, it's not a popular issue for let's start devoting money to mental health. Let's start devoting money to stop people from being on drugs. Right.
Well, I think that from a conservative perspective, I would say that we're all on game for mental health treatments. We're all on game for that sort of thing. But to just throw money at a problem, the government, and this is where I go back to people all the time, is that whenever you see the government do something, think of the things in your life, right? We have Service Ontario, where you go and you get your license and you sit and wait in a booth for 3 hours until somebody comes and gets you. That's not well done. That's a terrible system. Every system that the government touches seems to be a boom, just shamas. Like they screw it up 6 ways to Sunday. So what I, as a conservative, say is that treating mental health from a governmental perspective down is flawed on so many ways, right? If you have somebody that's, seriously has a mental health problem and is looking to get help, let's help that person. But if we're just throwing, like, the biggest thing that's crazy to me right now is the safe injection sites. We're handing out supplies for addicts to do their trade at the expense of the taxpayer. And the issue is that everyone it's all feel good, but people need, they're going to do it anyways. Well, they better do it in a nice, clean environment. It's like, I don't know. No, how about just no? Like, not a thing. The problem is that as a society, we've walked into legalization of marijuana. We've walked into communities where it's easier to get a joint than it is to get a cup of coffee on a Saturday morning. These are like societal problems, and we're just kind of sitting back and watching Canada as a society kind of head down a path that's a very dangerous and slippery slope.
So I'm not going to argue with you. I have there are some positives to having these. I believe they're meth clinics, they're called. And then there's also
you have
the
those
safe drugs sites, right, where you can go because sharing needles in the past has caused diseases that have widely spread through a community and killed a lot of people. And they're trying to help those people. Also, the safe disposal of needles. Like, I know right now in our community, we have a pandemic of people doing fentanyl and other drugs that require, I don't know, fentanyl. I'm sorry, guys, I don't know enough about drugs. Like, I don't have a clue if
You're a terrible
fentanyl
addict.
Isn't injectable drug, then I don't know. I don't know. Heroin, whatever it is, but they're finding them in our playgrounds and in our beaches, and
But
they're literally washing ashore. And so if these safe injection sites and they dispose of those needles appropriately,
that feels great. And I appreciate you.
Both
I love
the community.
And
it helps us because it takes the needles from just lying about on our streets.
Do you think that the average heroin user is concerned, like, after they shoot up? Okay,
I think they're concerned up until the point of shooting up, and then I don't know. I've only seen it in movies. It looks like they stop kind of having free will, and watching them on the street, they have no free will. Definitely, the free will is gone. So I don't think they are intending to leave their needle wherever it is. But if we had a place where they could shoot up, I guess shoot up's what it's called.
You're starting to know the terminology for somebody who doesn't know anything about this.
Then at least the needles are safely disposed of. I just worry, like, there are 2 beaches I know in our community that we can't even go to anymore. We can't have our kids at. Like, you and I were talking about hopping out of the boat. Right. Can't do that, right? Without shoes, like thick shoes.
If I was to say to you, if I was to say to you that the person, the individual in our community that owns the safe site injection was our former mayor, right, and he owns multiple millions of dollars in commercial real estate downtown, would that be a shock? Like, the handouts that are being done under the auspice of, we're going to do good for people under the governments is disgusting. And if we stop and we start looking at things with a little less, rose colored glasses, oh, we're going to have a little less needle on the beach, which I guess like 1 needle, 2 needle, 3 little needle. Like what I don't know. How does it work? Like, I don't think you're going to take this off the streets. These people, they're not concerned citizens. They're not
So-
the homeowners association. Like it's not a thing. But
So
we're
what
going to
I'm
pay a
saying
shit ton up for it.
is yes, I think we need them, but I think we're doing it wrong. I think yes, we need those. Those are band-aids. Those are like I have a
Right.
cut on my arm and we need to solve the cut on my arm is bleeding and I don't want blood everywhere. But the problem is that the knife that I had in my hand cut me.
Right.
And that I got to solve that knife problem. And the knife that is the problem of all these drug users is mental health. Mental health is
Don't
I
disagree.
would say that 89%. There's probably like 23, 25 that are down on their luck. They had problems in their life, whatever it is. And those are the people we can catch. We can help. You can lift them up with programs and stuff like that. Mental health, we have failed again and again and again. Especially in our community,
So the government has failed.
they show up.
Let's let someone else have a crack and stop paying for it.
They show up to the hospital. The person is in crisis. Maybe they've hurt themselves. Maybe they attacked someone. Maybe they attacked a business. Maybe they're wandering the streets naked. All three things you and I have seen. Opening the door,
Done
and
some of
walking
them.
outside. Done some of them. But anyway, they're at the hospital. 24-hour hold.
Yeah,
that's all it requires. 24-hour hold. They tell the person you have to seek counseling. These are the people that you can go see. Have a nice day.
Yep.
There's the door. Bye. Take care. And then the person goes out on the street, but they still have all the problems they had. They have their Band-Aid on their arm, but underneath it's still bleeding. Underneath they still have that problem.
But whose problem is
We're
it?
not addressing it at all. It's everyone's problem, Pat. That's what you keep missing. You think it's not everyone's problem. It is.
No.
In our community right now, the epidemic of mental health is affecting everyone. We're starting to see theft on the rise. We're starting to see our cars are being broken into. We're starting to see our homes. Like during the day, people are walking into homes and stealing stuff. Like the epidemic just grows and grows and grows, and it starts to affect everyone. So if it's affecting everyone, why don't we solve it? Why don't we come up with a better system? We spend so much. You're absolutely right. The government is top heavy. We spend so much time with the people that are in charge getting, why not have boots on the ground? Let's work on boots on the ground. We don't need everyone leading the people that are on boots on the ground. We need the boots on the ground, talking to people, helping people. Do you know how long it takes to get someone in to see a psychologist, a therapist or something? Forever.
Yep. But now that's a plan I can get behind. The problem is that when you have government that is kicking the can down the road, they are incentivized by the people that they employ to continue to have patients and clients come back. They're incentivized. If you are a police service, right, and you're going call to call with mental health issues, addictions issues, all of these sort of things, that's job security. Right? If you are a caseworker, if you're a social worker, if you're all these sorts of situations, these become job security situations. And in government, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. So if
are you trying to say that you're saying that caseworkers are not doing a full job because you think they want to keep working? That's what it sounds like you're saying.
You know many social workers. Do you think that the government agencies that they work for and that are funded by expect the cream of the crop from them?
So you're
expect measurables.
You're not talking about the people on the street, the boots on the ground. You're not saying that those people are like kicking the can down the road, that they're like seeing people and in their head they're like, you know what, if I don't do a good job, I'll see them tomorrow and I'll get this.
No, I think the
You're
average individual,
the people that are running it see it as a business. That's what
Yeah.
you're trying
How
to
how
say?
can you not? You have to
I'm
view
just
it
trying
as
to
a
understand
business.
where you're coming from.
100%. There's no
Right.
question. I don't care at what level you want to be. If you want to be the Red Cross, if you want to be any of these organizations that are charitable organizations, they are first and foremost a business. They have to be. They are set up as chartered corporations.
Sure.
They have to be.
I get
So
that from a school to any publicly funded, they
yeah,
have to show financial responsibility
right. Yeah, they
to
have
us,
absolutely
a
the
fiscal responsibility. That's what I was looking for. Okay.
fiduciary. Well, yeah. So yeah, you're
Fiduciary.
financial.
Ooh.
So at the end of the day, if you
Yeah,
have $1 million budget and you don't spend your $1 million
that's
budget
right.
next year, you can't go back and say, "Hey, I want to run new programs. I need
You're
1.3
right.
million." They
Yeah.
go, "We didn't spend the money that we had last time." So
Yeah.
now I go back and I say, if you are a private entity and you're providing these services, you have greater resources because your profitability, your expectation for profit comes from your result. If you don't get the result,
Right.
you don't get client number 2 or 5 or 12 or
Sure.
100.
Right.
That's a for-profit model. You have to
Right.
build that in. Government running these programs, it's so problematic. It stinks. It stinks.
So the
And
problem
then you
with
get fraud and
the
you get waste and neglect. And that's why we have all these issues that we've had with the institutions that we've had with people for years and years and years.
but the problem with the privately funded is that it's very easy to put on the show at the times that you need to put on a show. Like you can
But
do
then
a
I can't
setup
help
home,
you.
and
The
you can
government
do
can't help you if you're going to put on a show. So you haven't fallen through the crack enough yet. Come
But
on
I'm
back
talking
later.
about, like, if you're talking about services that are publicly funded,
Right.
when it comes time for us to go in and check and make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, they can dust off,
Oh yeah.
a beautiful popular model,
Right.
and no one's the wiser. And it's very easy to do. But I get what you say. Like, at least in a publicly funded model, and I mean, not a privately funded model, you're given a lump sum of money and you can use it anywhere.
Well, I'm saying don't give them a lump sum of money. I'm
The problem. Go ahead.
saying take the public money out of the game, and if you have an addiction problem, you have through your insurance. Like, we don't get into this level of insurance in Canada because of our healthcare system, and our
Right.
healthcare system sucks. So the Americans,
Oh,
like,
I disagree.
our healthcare sucks.
It
If
doesn't.
it sucks, we will
I
argue
say
this
in the mental health field, but if you look in the States, they are no better. In fact, they're worse for
in mental health.
in mental health. They're way worse. Way worse. There are
I
so
would
many
argue.
people that
I
can't
would
even
argue
get.
that
If you
I
have schizophrenia, if you have anything, how are you going to get services when you can't even sign a form? You're telling me the homeless have Medicare?
well,
They have
yeah,
some sort of way.
under Obama, right, right,
Oh,
wrong, or indifferent.
but I thought you didn't like Obama. So
I don't.
how do you sign up to Medicare in the Obama world?
No, that was the whole point. Is that there was no one that was going to be left behind.
Right.
The problem
But-
is that
but-
if you're a doctor and you work in those communities, you have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of patients that come to you because they've heard that you're willing to accept their program. Okay, well, so I have an uncle who's a physician, and he was in Virginia, and he said the worst thing that ever could have happened was Obamacare because no one got paid anything. The government wouldn't stand with the billings, so there was no money. So you would, out of the goodness of your heart, you would take on clients, and then all of a sudden there would be no payment. Insurance companies would laugh at you and go,
Right.
"Why are you accepting these clients?" And then he'd go, "Well, I have to keep the lights on."
Okay.
Obama sucked.
So I feel like you're proving my point, but that's okay. At least in Canada, with our healthcare system, everyone, no matter if you have a home, if you don't have a home, if you have mental health problems, you have a place to go to get aid. And I think that's super important. I think we're getting a little off topic because that's not even in
No,
a
this all goes
political
back to it
scheme
because
right
we're going
now.
back to political. Yeah.
But mental health, it's just one of those things that no one does well. No one does well. And I think it's because we don't understand it enough. We also don't care enough.
No, it's because it's an
It's way
individualized
easier to
thing.
have Uncle Bernie not talk about. It's way easier to, walk down the street and see that guy talking to himself. And for 30 seconds, maybe you notice him. Maybe you notice he's banging on the windows, or you laugh about it. Or I see people all the time filming it because they think it's hilarious for some reason that someone's freaking out about their burger. when it's this person is clearly hurting on the inside and you're making it worse by making fun of it. That drives me crazy. But
when you're not holding your camera,
you're not helping. We're not doing anything to help. We're not changing the way we look at it. And I think we change that by boots on the ground. But no one's talking about that because that no one cares about it. No one cares at this moment about these issues. What are they caring about? They're caring about I want to get on a train cheaper. I want to, and I'm sorry, like I am a liberal. We want gay flags everywhere. Great, but right now I don't. That's not a problem that we need to solve right now. Mental health is way more important than that. If we can help people feel safe in who they are, whether they're gay, whether they're straight, whether they're black, whether they're white, if we can take the time to help them feel safe, we don't need symbols. We have a symbol. We have a Canadian flag. Why don't we make the Canadian flag the symbol that makes everyone happy, and stop spending money on these things
conservative,
that aren't
so
really
excited
happening?
That you've been convinced.
Stop it! Stop it right now. I'm not conservative. No. But
so
I still
all of
think
those things I agree.
I
with
still think
wholeheartedly. Wholeheartedly.
Oh my God.
Circle. Thank you.
Okay, if you're out there, could you please help me? I've spent too much time with this guy, and
Right.
if we're starting to agree, that's a problem.
That's right.
But no, yeah. Go ahead.
You are right on all those things
Right.
you just said. But when you're coming down to mental health problems, okay, these are individual problems.
Mm-hmm.
As a community, we can only take them from a 1 to a 3, maybe. If you're not as a community, we have very few legal resources to deal with them because of our Charter of Rights and Freedoms, the Constitution in the States, right? You have personal and bodily autonomy. Well, we did, right? Personal and bodily autonomy. You cannot force people into treatment. You cannot force people into this. And when you do, it becomes problematic. So how, as a society, do you bring that full around? And that's why it's an unsolvable governmental process, because you can't force them. They have to want to do it. They have to hit a rock bottom. They have to find a problem. They have to need or want to solve that. And you can put all the government programs as you want, and it's not going to matter.
But I see them hit the rock bottom out on the streets because I talk to them. So I don't know, when I see someone, and I think you've been there maybe,
100% I've been there,
struggling on the street and they're upset and they're pacing and they're rubbing their hands or they're banging on the window, I go up and talk to them. I'm like, are you okay? There is no one there to catch them at their bottom moment. No one's there to catch them out. You have to catch people at the point of impact. I have a whole video about point of impact. That point of impact is the point at which you're most going to change. The point when your life hit rock bottom. You're absolutely right. But they're out on the street. Who's catching that? It's not like you and I. When I hit rock bottom, my kids are around me.
At what point is rock bottom? If you're on the street, that should have been. Now,
rock
if that's
bottom has
not
to be
yours,
when you realize
right,
it, though.
Right,
not when I realize it.
100%. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying.
Here they are on the street, and I'm talking to them, and they're telling me they're at rock bottom.
Right.
I have no place to direct them, though.
If we're going to go in and we're going to have safe injection sites and we're going to make rock bottom comfortable, we're not rock bottom. That's what I'm saying. You can. What we're then doing is we're putting down a blanket at rock bottom and saying, "You want to stay here? This is okay. It's not that bad, is it? We're going to make it comfy."
So that's the problem. We don't have anyone to help them at rock bottom. So if
they have to help themselves.
That support, we pull that support, then they hit rock bottom. And there's no one, no place, nowhere to go. Literally, I was talking to a gentleman a couple of weeks ago, and he was kicked out of the few, I think they're called warming rooms, that are available in Peterborough, like banned. He's banned for 7 days. And he was at his rock bottom. He was upset. He was pacing. He didn't know what to do with his life. He had no place to go. He had no supports. He had no family, no friends that cared about him. And so what's he do? Does he go to the hospital and sit in the hospital for 24 hours and then they release him and go, okay, bye? He still has no place to go. He still has no supports and no place. But what if when that rock bottom hit, it's happening right in the warming room? So for this gentleman, he had a meltdown in the warming room. And rather than, and the warming room is a wonderful place. And I do have to say this, and he's going to make fun of me. it's a wonderful place. They do wonderful things. They do a lot of good things. They help people. They're there for people, and they raise people up. They really do. But in this particular case, and I only have his side, but I know it to be true because I've seen it. He had an episode. He was kicked out. Wouldn't it be great if you're at your rock bottom, sir? Come on in. Let's figure this out together. Now you're at your point of change, which is what you're saying. If you have no one to help you at your point of change and you suffer from mental health, how is that going to help? You're just going to go lower.
Dude, my heart throbs for you. The reality of the situation is that anyone that would have been in that scenario watching it was probably going, that man is dangerous. He needs to go. And there's 50 of them and one of him. And that's a game of numbers. And the society cannot be boiled down to the single individual. And you cannot raise a society that way. He has a responsibility. And that sounds heartless, and it sounds callous, and it sounds all these things. But I bet if you were there and you had your children around you when he was going off in that situation, you would have moved your children and because of danger. So he has a responsibility. And that's what I'm saying is that those places are great. They're fantastic. They're needed. They used to be done by the church. The church used to have more role in that.
Absolutely.
But how can you sit there and go, and I'm not saying you personally, I'm saying how can somebody sit there and invade to be thrown out of a homeless shelter, like where you cannot come back? This isn't, Rockefeller Square where, your escargot wasn't done appropriately. You were upset, man. This is a pretty rough and tumble area.
Mm-hmm.
To say that this guy gets tossed out and that society should somehow bend to that, it just doesn't compute. There has to be, you fucked up, dude. This is where we're at. Sorry, you're gone. Let that be your rock bottom. You want to come back?
He fucked up because he suffers from a mental disability that he has no power over. It's not because he made poor choices in his life. It's not because he's an alcoholic that just likes to drink and not. So like, I'm just saying some alcoholics just love the drink. Like there's a percentage of them so I'm only talking about like 5%.
I just like a scotch from time to time.
Yeah.
This feels personal.
Right. It's getting a little personal on you. No, but you know what I mean? Like there's people
absolutely.
that just like everything else, there's that top percent that's just doing it and they don't have to.
Right.
It's not like that's him.
Yeah, but society can't take him into account
from a serious disability,
illness,
mental.
Well, then he
illness.
needs to be treated mentally. Like he needs to be treated physically and psychologically. Right. And if he doesn't like the way that treatment's going, then those are his choices. So his choices are to hit the street.
But he's not given the option to have a treatment. Where's his option to have a treatment?
See, I struggle with, like, there's lots of psychiatric outpatients. There's psychiatric inpatients. If I don't take no well, I think you know that.
Oh, yeah, I definitely know that. I have some stories I could tell if you guys have a couple of hours.
Right. I couldn't imagine. Yeah. Right. I'm not leaving. You're going to throw me out of this. This is the whole concept. Yeah. And what I'm saying is I agree wholeheartedly that we don't do mental health well. The problem is what does that look like? We cannot have individual programs.
When it is such a big issue for conservatives, you're stating that mental health is a big issue. I'm stating mental health is a big issue.
Less so.
We're on both sides. No, but you're saying it's still an issue. You're just saying coming at it from a different angle.
So DSM, when you look through it, 95% of the people walking around have some sort of mental illness.
So I'm not talking about that, and
no, but I am, because
you're putting an umbrella over what we're dealing with. That's what government does. Is serious mental health issues, and it's on the rise because of the state. Some of it was COVID. Some of it's the recession we're getting into. When you have those kind of failures in the system,
right?
We need help, and the way I would hope that they would look at it, but they're not even talking about it. The conservatives aren't talking about it. The liberals aren't talking about it. The NDP doesn't care.
But see, that's the problem. So the conservatives, I agree 100%, aren't talking about it because it's not their platform. Their platform is, you have a problem, society owes you nothing. Go fix your problem, pal. right? That's a conservative. That sounds cold and callous and all those sorts of things. But if you're a liberal and you're an NDP or you're green or all those sorts of things, and you're running on feel good, like we've got this guy in Peterborough here that's running, who is just he wants to hug everybody. It feels like all the warm and fuzzies, and he's an idiot. Like God bless him. I'm sure he's a lovely guy, but you're not. We're going through some major problems, and his whole platform is for a more caring government in Ontario. Well, care off, right? More caring. Get lost. You're dealing with adults now, sir. Like I get that you went and you traveled the world and you did some stuff and you did Oxfam and you put some food on the table for people in Afghanistan. And thank you. The people in Afghanistan are proud of you. But you've been government your entire life. You're going to be government now if you get elected. And you are just budget after budget after budget. I think it would be a shame if he gets in. And the feels. It doesn't matter. If it's just all huggy-feely, then you can't pay for huggy-feely. Then nobody has a job because we don't want to make anybody work. We don't want to push anybody to do something they're not comfortable with. Life is not comfort zone. Let's get in. Let's move past that. And you talk about great strength.
I agree with you 100%. It is not about being comfortable. Life has nothing to do with being comfortable.
Then let's fortify our people. Let's fortify our children to stress, to anxiety, to mental health. Let's fortify them. Let's not worried about how do we catch every Jim, John, or Sally that has a mental health problem. We'll help them through helping themselves.
To teach people how to fortify themselves. We need a program to teach people how to like that's self-care that you and I have been talking about, that it comes from within to without. Right now, everyone wins, and like I maybe I don't have I don't know. I still think it's an old liberal view that everyone didn't have to win. You could have a soccer tournament where there was a winner, and there was a loser, and you dealt with that, and you talked your child through it. And
my daughter came home from track day today, and she's got a bunch of ribbons, and I'm like, oh, what's that? And it's like first to fourth or fifth, I think, and she's got a bunch of these ribbons, right, all the way through. And I'm like, well, what did it go back to? And she's like, fifth. I'm like, how many kids are running? She's like 30. Like there was 2 classes, of 30 kids, like 60 kids. I'm like, not everyone got something. She's like, no. I'm like, good.
So she would be mistaken because she was one of the winners. Everyone gets a participation ribbon.
Oh no, really?
Yeah, no, everyone does. Yeah, absolutely. Everyone does.
My heart.
And the people who are the winners, like your daughter, wouldn't necessarily know that because the participation ribbon is kind of given after. It's not a big ceremony about it.
Oh, okay. So you just kind of like poke them and be like, here you go, loser.
Part of the reason I got my son, you go, here you go. Here's your ribbon. You're amazing. But part of the reason I got my son into intramural, not away from intramural and into rep soccer was because of that, because every time we went somewhere, they didn't keep score, they didn't
it's cute though,
they didn't seem to care, everyone got an award, and that's great, I guess, but no. Like you need challenge, you need that in your life, you need to know what it's like to fail, particularly, and work hard. It is more important to learn how to win than it is to learn how to fail. If you cannot accept failure and stand up, you know what? My son has failed in life. He's failed in soccer. I've watched him, and he doesn't fold. What he does is he goes back and he works harder. I've seen him get. This is going to be crazy and it's going to be silly out there, but I've seen him get an 80 on an assignment. You're damn sure the next time he gets it on that assignment, it's going to be a 98. Absolutely. He is just that guy. Kid. Yeah. He just has always been that from the time he was born. He would come home with an art project and he would tear it up and start over it several times until it was perfect because he just wanted to succeed. Right. He knew what it was like to fail and he knew how to overcome that. Daughter, very similar. So I forget what my point was, but I think it's important.
Your kid's cool.
My kid's awesome. Right. My kid's the most awesomest. Yeah, he's starting his life now, and let me tell you,
buying a boat.
Buying a boat for daddy.
Buy a boat.
That's what I'm trying to start this new thing out there. Let me know if you agree. I think the parents should get the grad gift. I'm just saying, like, I think it's kind of silly that I buy him a grad gift. Like I did everything. I got him there. I drove him there and picked him up here, on the weekends. I fed him
and his little pinky ring.
He gets a pinky ring and I get a boat.
I think it makes sense.
dads
Yep.
get grad gifts. I just think it's
Well, I worked through him with his
Hashtag dad
new
grad
real
gift.
estate deal, so I think I
That's
get
true.
like a CD.
Yeah. You should get a CDU. Yeah, I'll talk to him.
Yeah,
It'll
make it
probably happen.
Make it happen.
But no,
Yeah.
I think that we need to start allowing the failures as well as the successes. We don't have to always win. I think that in the government, it doesn't, like you said, we don't need carry touchy feeling all the time.
Right.
We do have to be fiscally responsible, especially now. We have to look at
Bingo.
the way we're spending money.
Yeah.
I think the way that you feel we spend money and the way I feel we spend money are definitely different.
Oh, I
But we
would
definitely
axe.
have
Like if
to
I
go-
ever run,
I don't want to be in the world where
so
it runs.
much.
Oh my
fat.
god. Oh, it'd be bad. But I
So
agree.
much
I know a little bit about these systems, and you know, like they're severely flawed in so many ways. But one of the ways is
Right.
that money is ill used. Money is
100%.
ill used all the time. People come up with a program,
So
they
what would
initiate
public
said
sector
program,
versus? Yep. Sorry.
and then the government changes and the program changes. So
Right.
now that program that we spent millions of dollars, we spent the people researching it to decide who's going to do it,
Right.
the people that actually
But who are those
activate it,
people?
and then the people that are running it and doing it, and then the government changes, and then they're like, we don't want that anymore, so we just take that off the table and we're going to start a new thing. This
Right.
is crazy. We can't
That's
keep on throwing
Called
money
the
away.
bureaucracy.
We can't keep throwing money away like that. We have
Right.
to start looking at these organizations and going, how can we make them smaller? Right now, like we have a Ministry of Natural Resources, wonderful, very important ministry, but they have a brick and mortar. Why do we need brick and mortar anymore? We don't. Why do we need government brick and mortar? We can do this so much better. Like there are so many better ways.
Well, then where would I go to yell at people?
Well, see, you still can. We could have a smaller brick and mortar, and then you could access. And say you don't have a computer, which is a thing. There are a lot of people in this world that don't have computers. They don't have access to the internet. They can't make a phone call. So you have a small brick and mortar, and then you can access these people, and it just would flow nicer. It just would be nicer. I just think it would be
I don't disagree.
cheaper.
Yep.
But I still think we need to spend the money on it. I still think we need an M&R. I still think we need a mental health. I still think we do need our hospitals to be fully funded. Like I'm sorry, we need healthcare for everyone. I want everyone to be able to walk into that door and receive healthcare. And it is good healthcare.
Okay, so
I have
let's talk about it because
always
that's a
received
huge
good healthcare
platform. That's a huge platform, healthcare.
that they're
And
not
it's
talking about.
And it's well, everyone else is talking about it except the conservatives. And the
Right.
conservatives are saying that, hey, listen, we got you through a pandemic. The healthcare system held. It did all the things that we wanted it to do theoretically, right? None of your family members weren't able to see you. We did all the things that the WHO told us to do. What do you want from us now? And the conservatives are implementing a top-down approach like what you're saying, is they're taking the RNs, the registered nurses, and they're filling them with RPNs, and the RPNs are being filtered down into PSWs. So we're doing a lot of hiring.
Yes.
We are doing a mass hire
Yes.
of PSWs and RPNs, but we are functionally flushing out the highest paid, like 6-figure salary, RNs, and people are going, that's crazy. We need these nurses. Yeah, but what we're doing is we're bringing in 3 for every one, but they're freaking out. And unless you dig a little bit deeper into the nuts and bolts of what they're doing, they're bringing 3 people in the door for the same salary as the one bloated position.
I'm not
and you're
gonna
getting a
argue with you.
better care.
They are getting more boots on the ground, which is what I've been talking about. They are.
Right. Thank you, folks.
Yes.
That's again going back to the conservatives. Looks like you got the election all but wrapped up here.
No, but you're right. So the differences are huge, though. Like there is a big difference between the two calibers of nurses you're talking about. Like the one nurse can do far more than the other.
But that's a scope of practice issue. So again, my mother being a nurse, your mother being a nurse,
yes,
they were RNs. They went in and they were doing patient care at that point, right? For the last 10 years, again, my mother who retired and, just short of the last 10 years, I think she's about 6 years, 7 years retired. She was mostly administrative. So at an RN position making, I think my mother's last year was just off the sunshine list at about, $95,000 a year doing admin.
Yeah.
So if we bring in a PSW and an RPN to do that job, and you have one admin managing them, or let's say one RN manages a floor or 10 or 15 people. If you have a problem, you go back to her. If
So
you
what
needed
Pat's
this, you go
trying to
back
say
her.
is that we need fully funded healthcare, and I totally agree. I totally agree that we need.
No, it has to
fully
be
funded
smarter.
healthcare.
We are not going to leave. Like, our healthcare system is not going to leave fully funded until it's broken.
You're not going to bite at that, eh?
No.
No. So I see what you're saying. We just have to make sure we do it in a planned, smart way. We can't just jump the gun and go to this other system. PSWs,
Right.
although wonderful, are not nurses. There's nothing about a PSW that is anywhere near the caliber of any nurse. Like, they are not going to be life-saving. That's not what a PSW does. So you can't say that a PSW can replace a nurse in any way. They can't. They just can't. It'd be like
a nurse
asking,
going in and doing bathing.
it'd
and
be
doing,
asking the apprentice to go change my transmission.
I'm not
It's
I'm
just
not saying
not
you're
even
wrong.
possible.
I'm saying that on a 12-hour shift for the average nurse, her life-saving skills might be once, like, she's doing chest compressions once a week. Like, she's using
No,
her
but
full level of skill once a week, maybe.
she's dealing with the heart. She's dealing with the body. She notices slight differences in the body
Yeah.
that are life-saving, whereas a PSW could not. A PSW is not going to notice like a different tinge in the eye, or a different flutter in the pulse, or whatever it is that a nurse does. Like,
But that's why we have all the machinery that we have now
guessing.
to catch that.
But on the level, because now the Conservatives are sending more and more patients home. Where are they going to, where are these machines? Are there machines in your home that are monitoring?
You're
They're
saying, do you think that the outcomes of inpatient or outpatient are better?
Both have very varied values. I think that
Right.
there are some patients that should be sent home.
Yeah.
Being at home is by far better for you, but there are other patients that they have sent home from serious operations.
Well, I don't disagree. Yeah.
That I think are a huge mistake, a terrible mistake.
Yep.
And they often end up having to go back because they end up getting an infection, or they end up getting a complication.
So
Well,
now,
if
if you had
PSW
your
was
own
there,
insurance, or if you were a
if a
private payer,
PSW
you would
was
go,
there-
I ain't leaving. Right?
Yeah, but we can do that right now. I can literally say I'm not leaving at a hospital. I've seen it happen.
Well, yeah, 100%.
Right.
But it is an
You know
argument.
what?
There,
I've
so
seen
you
it
and I have
happen.
personalities that will fight that fight, right?
Right.
But the
Yeah.
average person doesn't. So I'm saying that there's a lot of people that get sent home ill-advised, should not have been.
If you get sent home, fight it.
Right?
That's where we're at. Yeah,
Yep. Totally.
No, I see where you're getting. I'm saying yes. It is. I agree on boots on the ground. Low. The other side is more important than the the administrative and all that. But we have to be careful. We have to be careful how much we give up. If we are only doing home care, and we have
I agree.
PSWs
There's line.
who don't have the expertise to notice life-saving changes in the human body, that's a dangerous thing, especially since now we're sending people home who just had a cancer operation, who just had a very serious operation. They're going home after a couple of days now.
Where in the States they would be hospitalized. That sounds like a better system.
I don't have an answer. I don't have an answer for you. I don't have an answer for you. Yeah, no, it sounds like the Conservatives have made bad decisions, but
ouch.
Ouch. Shots fired. Shots fired. Yeah, no, but that's one of the, but now I am a liberal, old school liberal. Right now, though, I'm going to say, and you're going to love this, we have to be financially responsible. Right now, the government has overspent. In the last 2 years, we have overspent to a phenomenal level. Our taxes are at an incredible rate that if they keep going up, and that's the only way to pay for these services that we keep on pouring out there. I think we need the services, but I think we have to start thinking responsibly. How are we going to pay for them? What are we going to do to pay for them? How are we going to, maybe we need to tighten a couple of budgets, cut
Mm.
some stuff out,
Mm.
change some stuff until we get over this hurdle. We got a couple of tough years here. And if we keep on going, like I think of Greece. Greece never stopped, right? They
Right.
kept on giving out all those great perks.
Yep.
And what happened to them?
Yep.
Right?
They go. Yep. No, bankrupt. And
Right? Canada can go that way. We are very
oh,
close. We ride that line all the time. The States ride that line all the time.
Yep.
And I think now is the time that we have to pick someone who's going to do it, but do it in a good way. Do it in a way that we're not just cutting the same old stuff. Conservatives always come in, they cut education, they cut hospitals. I don't know why they always attack those two spots. There's lots of spots in the government. Why does it always have to be
because those are
I
the
don't
ones
know.
that the Liberals and the NDP talk about. Because the first thing they do is say, "Oh, they're going to cut this, they're going to cut that, they're going to cut this." There's been so much money spent on education. Like if you go through again, there's all of the programs that we have. There's fat everywhere. There's fat in
absolutely.
every bureaucracy.
Just
So
the
as
test
soon as they
alone
make
that we do for all grade 3s and grade 6s and
Right.
grade 10s, I think there's fat. It's a useless test. It makes no sense.
But
That
we
could be
brought that
gone.
in. The
We spend so
conservative,
much money on
the
that.
conservatives brought that in years and years and years ago because they were mirroring what the United States was doing with Bush's No Child Left Behind. So they brought this in because they're like, we need measurables. We need to have some sort of reason that we're going to pay this teacher $80,000, $85,000 a year. And the guy's 68 years old. He hasn't done new curriculum in 15 years. Do we think that that kid's getting the same justified education as the kid 15, 20 years ago for this guy? So that's what they did is they brought it in. And now if you're one of the teachers,
But that's not what the test did.
well, that was the theory,
Sure.
right?
Okay,
The
that's
the
not
whole
what the test
concept
did.
that all of our schools get a report card now, though.
Yeah, but that's not what the test did. It did
What did it do?
nothing. It
Right.
did nothing. It
Right.
changed nothing.
Right.
But we're still holding on to it. How long ago? Was it 20 years ago?
Because it's a
started?
measurable. And that's the conservative
measures
ideology is
nothing.
measurables.
It doesn't measure anything. Like education is variable. It depends on the demographic where people live.
Kind
It
of like
depends
mental health.
on the parents that are above them. Like if you have a parent that isn't at the table when you get home,
Right.
you're not doing homework.
Right.
You know, you're
Speaking
a different
of-
parent. You do
Yeah.
homework every night. You do homework all the time. You're
I'm
very
getting
aware.
really good at grade 7.
Getting really good at grade 7. Tonight you're doing what? Some sort of project?
Yeah. So this is the Oxfam presentation.
What's
So
that?
we're gonna feed women and children in foreign countries.
Oh, that's nice. Very
Liberal bullshit.
nice. I'll have her right in that gender issues
Right.
course in no time. But so I think that test was useless, and that's something we can get rid of. We can get rid of so many. Like, why are we paying so much for the medicines that we use in the hospitals? Why is it if I go to the pharmacy, it costs way less to get aspirin than it does to get in the hospital? Like,
Bloated
this is the stuff
bureaucracy.
I don't understand, and maybe there's a reason for it. Maybe there's added into that cost, and I don't know. Maybe I'm misguided, but why can't we start looking at that stuff? Why can't we start looking at the things that actually matter? But we don't. That's not what happens. They start cutting educational assistants. They start cutting custodians. They start cutting teachers. They make class sizes bigger. All the stuff that makes education worse, not better.
I don't disagree. I say that it all should be cut. Cut it all equally. Cut it.
So there
with an
shouldn't be.
axe.
So education should be also privately funded. Is that what you're saying?
I think our education has deteriorated, on a world scale to the point of ridiculousness over the last years. And that's not an individual teacher's fault. That is a systematic one. Western societies have let education deteriorate to nothing. And I struggle with that.
Yeah.
And I have a warm place for all the teachers that were great people. The problem
I think
is
part of
that
the problem is we're not-
education starts at home.
We're also not holding anyone accountable in the education system.
No.
Like
So why-
literally, you.
So
don't
when
have
you're
to
paying
do anything to get
$57 for an Advil in the hospital, cut
Yeah.
that fat. When you have a classroom where, let's be frank, teaching is a pretty cushy job.
It
Yeah,
is not
so-
a cushy job. You guys, you never taught a day in your life and you have no idea. It is not a cushy job. You have
You-
30 people that you're responsible for an 8-hour day. Think about how hard it is to be responsible for the 4 girls that come to a sleepover at your house. And you want 30
but
of those in
what
your
are the
house?
expectations? What are the expectations? There are
That they
no
learn.
expectation. No, but none. That anytime, and I can attest to this as a moron. Anytime you get a report card home, it's never, hey, I as a teacher this year didn't get the point across to our 30 group of students here. It's Timmy needs to be paying more attention and focusing on homework and all that sort of thing. I've never heard a teacher ever once go, you know what, I really dropped the ball this year. There's no measurement.
Because
There's
maybe
no
they
expectations.
Didn't, but
No, but that's a really great way to look at your classroom and be like, yeah, there is no expectation. And that's where I'm saying is that go in and take the fat off. Yes, there's absolutely problems with our systems, but if you don't have a way to measure it, then there always will be. So you have to figure something. You have to figure out how the teacher is measured and should be rewarded for having an excellent education and having the kids come out and having happy children and having well-rounded children. But that all starts at home. That has to start at home. That's
I
where I'm
agree.
saying
I agree.
societal viewpoint is different.
Our family unit is broken. And I think we need to get back to that. I think we need to get back to a community. We need to get back that our grandparents are involved, that our
Right.
uncles are involved, that our family unit is involved. My dad used to talk about
being expected to
my dad
raise
used
children.
to talk about the village raised him.
Totally.
He would literally come home from school because he did something wrong, and he would get heck from the community because everyone knew, right? Now it's a smaller community, so that's what happens. Or he'd break a window at Harold's place. Well, he get trouble from the community, right? Because the community raised it.
Now, I would argue the average teacher is afraid to send home. Right.
Now the dad will walk in and go, how dare you make my son stay in for that?
Right.
Well, your son did something wrong. Yeah, I don't care. You're not making my son do that.
So my question to you is that teacher in that situation, you have two choices when asshole dad walks in the door. Right? You can argue and you can fight with him, or you can go, okay, I'm not going to write the letter again. I'm not sending the letter home to the parent.
Do you know why they don't?
I would argue most don't.
You do know why?
Well, because they're going to get asshole dad back.
No, it's because they're going to get in trouble.
From who?
From the higher up, the people above them.
Because you're stirring the pot.
The people above them say, no, the parent is in charge. The parent decides. And there is some level of truth to that. But, if we're going to service children, they have to be held accountable. And if we don't allow them to be held accountable, we don't allow them to have adversity. That is part of the mental health problems we're seeing today. Because they don't know how to deal with anything.
Right around.
We don't know how to deal with anything.
Yeah. No,
because they've never dealt with anything.
Yeah.
If my son wrote "fuck off" on a bathroom wall, not only would he be cleaning it, and I would be like, give him the smallest thing and the most itchiest cleanser you can give him.
Yep.
And I hope he's there for a couple hours. In fact, he's going to wash the whole bathroom.
Right.
Not just that one spot.
Yep.
And then when he gets home, he ain't doing nothing for quite a while.
Right.
Right. That's not the case now. Now it's like, that's janitorial work. You're not doing that. Right. I'm not letting my son do that.
Now, my question goes back to that. And I would say, if you had a strong management core and you had a strong leadership in teaching and you had a backbone when dad number one comes in there, then I would argue that you might stand a chance on rectifying that behavior early enough and setting Timmy down a path that's different.
But that's the way it used to be, right? That's the way it was when I was a kid. It was, it was the.
So
my
argument.
No. If you want your child to be here, he's cleaning that up, and he's going to survive it. He'll be fine. But
how many situations would you see that it's pacified instead of dealt with? And that's what I'm saying is that it's an
situation.
Easy, right? But that's my crux of this is the
our problem is that we looked at, the teacher Tom slapped Billy across the back of the head and pushed him into a locker. That was his. So when we look at punishment now, we see all punishment bad.
Right.
We don't see corrective experiences. We just see it's punishment. And because Tom pushed someone in a locker, Now you can't do anything.
Right,
my
and that's
child.
wrong. But
Like
that's
you
that's
can't even
made
give them a
teaching
detention, which
that
is
makes
crazy.
teaching very different because your give a fuck is busted
Yeah.
because you can't. You
Well,
don't care.
you just know that you
care.
can't.
Right.
You know the parents that you can, and you know the parents you can't. The
Right.
parents that you can, you work with them, you do that, you know, you call them, there are parents that you will call for a solid week and say, I'm just leaving another message here, Mrs. Jones. Your son's really struggling in math. I want to send some math sheets home that I hope you can work with. I hope you can find the time. Solid week. And then, Billy there pushes Sarah off the swings. And you're like, you know what? You can't do that. You're going to stay in. Because you did that, you're going to lose your right for recess because you don't know how to act appropriately in recess. Makes sense. Logical consequence. You don't know how to act at recess. You don't get to be at recess. And that's when the parent calls. Doesn't care about the fact that their kid isn't doing well, but cares the fact that their kid wasn't allowed to go on a swing for one recess.
Right. But I'm asking, does that teacher make that phone call the next time? So why am I paying for that teacher to not make that call the next time?
Well, that's what I'm saying, that we need to look at these systems.
Right.
And
break them down.
Make them work in a more efficient way and stop taking away teachers. Stop taking away educational assistants. Stop taking away the things we need.
But why do I need more people that won't make the phone call? Why do I need more people that won't make the phone call?
But that's the whole point. We need to look at this and start getting these people the right supports that they need to teach in the ways that we need them to teach.
But how does adding an extra person that won't make that phone call work?
Well,
I'm saying if they're not going to make the phone call because mom and dad don't care, then why do I need an extra body standing there making benefits, wages, pension, all that sort of thing to just have, again, it's a never ending. It's a cycle.
But the problem is that I know that the Conservatives will get in, they're going to bring in a new program. That program will last for 2 or 3 years. First of all, the program will start and they'll tell everyone that it started. Steve Leachy or whatever the heck his name is will come out and say, we have started this wonderful program. Example, the pandemic. He talked about how he gave all these supports for online learning. Your daughter went through online learning. How much supports did Steve Leachy give anyone for online learning?
None.
Right.
But I loved it. Like I did. I loved it. Like if I could have Harlow doing
it was rolled out in such a way, it was an emergency to roll it out, and it should have been rolled out, and I 100% agree. But there was no supports. It wasn't done in a proper way. There was no education there. There was nothing. These teachers went by the seat because they were highly intelligent people who know education well. They devised ways to teach, and it was on a more individual basis than it was on a group basis. And that's what kind of happens once in a while, because the government brings out these great new math programs and goes, well, we started this new math program, but the teachers don't even have a book yet. Book doesn't come to like halfway through the school year. But it's a great program. We're doing it.
Right. So take government out of it. Let you go pick the school you want to go to. You want to go to Montessori? If you were to take all the taxes that we pay for schools and give it back to me, my kid would be the highest educated kid in Canada. Right? If you take the property taxes, like we here in the area, we decide what board we want to pay to. Give me that money back. Let me go to a private. Let me go to a public. Let me choose. Give me that choice. This is freedom, right? So then I can go in and I go, what is your measurements? What are your goals? What are your attainable things you want for my child?
Then it depends on the state of how much the community makes. So if you
Welcome
are
to
a
it,
poor
man.
community,
that's reality.
You don't have a good school. That's not reality. We're trying to have an equal basis so everyone has an equal platform to step off of in an education system. And the way you want to do it, that's not ever going to happen. We're going to have communities like the computer community where I work down in the south there. They would have a poor school. They wouldn't have the resources that say the community where you are, where you're currently living.
I went through that. I went through that as a child. I lived right on the cusp. Like where I lived, I had the choice where I could go to the really fancy school or I could go to the tough school. And you and I have talked about this before, but my father said to me, he goes, you're going to learn reading, writing, and arithmetic at both schools, right? But you're going to learn to be tough at the other one. Right. And I went to the poorer of the two schools and I learned That's probably why I'm an asshole now.
Probably.
But yeah, but the education level was drastically different between
Right.
the two of them.
Mhm.
Drastically different. And the reason is that not only like my kids that were there were waiting for dad to get out of prison. If they didn't try to light the classroom on fire, that was a good day. Over
Right.
here, they're all sitting around diligently listening to Mrs. Smith, and Mrs. Smith is talking about how the Pilgrims settled the West, and everyone's going, "Oh, that's interesting." Over here, Timmy's literally lighting the classroom on fire because he can't read, and no one at home is going to take the time to read with him. So if I
Right.
burn the school down, I don't have
Sure.
to read about the Pilgrims.
Right.
Well, but they're not the same education. There will be differences. And if we don't think that there are, then that's flawed. There's going to be massive differences. So call them out, say that's a difference, have a meeting with Timmy, the pyrotechnic guy's parents, and go,
Poor
you're a
Timmy.
dick. You're an asshole. Do something with your
Timmy-
kid.
Was Timmy the guy who was talking on the street there that
Right.
got kicked out?
He's still an asshole. Yeah. Anyways, I got to go do math.
No, you do have to do math.
Oxfam.
This is great. So I think where we both agree on the end of this is that right now, no matter which direction we go to, what our leaders should be talking about is how to financially get us through the next couple of years. The next couple of years are going to be tough on everyone. It's going to be tough on jobs. It's going to be tough on buying food and gas. How are we going to get through that? And they're not talking about that. They're talking about all the buzzwords. And until they do, I don't really know who to pick. But for me, at this point, it's going to be someone who's fiscally responsible, because that is what we need right now. And I know maybe that's not the greatest liberal view, but in order, in the climate that we live right now, in a beautiful utopia world, sure, we could give all these services. But in the climate
more
that
feeling
we live
more
right
caring
now,
and feeling, Ontario government.
we need to start conserving money. It's just like me at home, like when it gets harder to spend money, I don't spend it. I'm not going to go to the homeless shelter and drop off a bunch of food because I don't have the extra money to do it. I'm not going to go, give $20 to the guy on the corner because I don't have the extra money to do it. But when I get through that and I get past that because I've been fiscally responsible and I've survived, then I'll come back out and I'll be like, here's your $20, buddy. I hope you have a good day. Get some help, get some food, whatever you need. Right. Or, I'll go to the shelter and I'll drop off some food. But there's a time and place for everything. And right now the time is
save
some money.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Well, folks, on that note, thank you as always. We appreciate it. Like, subscribe, and share. Check us out. We're going to be doing a few of those more lives, I think.
Yeah.
I hope you guys like that. That was kind of an interesting thing. We want to incorporate that again. So, as always, my partner, James,
I thought we weren't doing that.
Yeah, well, name above. Yep.
Above me. Let's heal our minds, bodies, and souls together. And let's, when we vote, let's use our minds and not just listen to like the buzzwords.
There you go. I like it. All right, pal. Thanks again, as always.
Hey, folks. Thanks again for joining us at Soaring Profits. Patrick and James, please like, subscribe, and share. And
follow us on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and of course, Facebook. And let's start a dinner table discussion right on this page right here. Let's start talking about the topics that we're talking about today.
Thanks again, folks. Appreciate it.